see it land. I didn't even know it hit the cafe there.
Holy smokes, he did it! Off the Hit It Air Cafe!
Welcome to the first episode of the Hit It Here podcast. I'm Colton from Mariner Mojo.
And I'm Joe from Mariner Mojo.
And today is Wednesday, March 29th, the day before opening day. And today we have the skills challenge going on at T-Mobile Park. Now, if you're going to the skills challenge, hey, I'm going to be there. Stop by and say hello if you see me. Let me know if you're going to be there. I can say hi to you, maybe take a few pictures. But the most important thing is that tomorrow is finally opening day of the 2023 season. Joe, take it away.
Well, on the bump for the Mariners on opening day is obviously Luis Castillo, which we all saw coming. We all knew that was going to happen. Scott Service and, the Mariners announced it, and it's very exciting for him. I think, coming into the season, he's got a lot of lofty expectations. He led the Mariners throughout the postseason and the, starts that he made. He was really, really good. So we're looking to Luis Castillo to be the anchor, the ace for the pitching staff this season.
And I think it's going to be really interesting. He's going to be facing off against Shane Bieber of the Cleveland Guardians. And Bieber in his last tune-up start, which I believe was against the Rockies, I think. If I remember correctly, struck out like 9 or
He's
something
carving,
crazy like that. Yeah, Shane Bieber is someone who the Mariners have seen a decent amount. And Shane Bieber, we all know how good he is.
Yeah.
And the Cleveland Guardians are by no means a bad team. I know they play in the AL Central, but they made it to the playoffs for a reason, and it's not just because that entire division is trash. It's partly because of that, but also because they have a really, really good pitching staff. Joe, how do you think the Mariners hitters are going to fare against this pitching staff?
If I'm being honest with you, they touched them up pretty well in the regular season when we faced them. And that was last year. Obviously, it's a completely different year now. But I've got a lot of faith in the Mariners lineup to be able to put some damage down on the Guardians pitching staff. Maybe get them out a bit early and get to that bullpen. We don't know how James Karinchak's going to be doing with the pitch clock. Thank goodness that's here because now we can't play around as much anymore. But I don't know. I've got a lot of faith in the Mariners lineup to be able to get the starters out of there relatively early. We're looking at this newly tuned Mariners lineup to doing some damage. Colton, what do you think the lineup's going to be looking like on opening day?
I really do think that Julio Rodriguez is still going to be the leadoff hitter. I'm interested to see with what they did in the final game of spring training with their lineup was had Colton Wong bat right behind Julio and ahead of Ty France. I'm not sure if they're going to do that with the opening day lineup. I don't know if I love that. I think Colton Wong, he's someone who could hit probably anywhere between 1, 2, and then 7, 8, 9. He could hit any of those positions. And then with Ty France batting 3, I think is the right way to do it. Then going with someone like Teoscar Hernandez at 4. I saw that they had Gino at 6 in the last game of spring training. I think that maybe that's an option. I think that might be a little too low for Gino. Batting Cal Raleigh 4, I like it. They did that in the playoffs last year. But I don't know. Gino at 6 just seems a little low to me. I don't necessarily know where they put Colton Wong in this lineup. What do you think?
I think 2 is the right spot. If he can start leading off, great. So get, in front of Julio, essentially. But I think you hit the nail on the head. 2nd is the spot for him if he's going to be in the top part of the lineup. If he's lower, like you said, 7, 8, 9, because you can't have him taking away more at-bats and not getting on base for guys like Teo, Cal, and Gino. I think that order of Ty, Teo, Cal, Gino is good because you get that switch hitter in there. You get to break it up. Obviously, it's against right-handed pitching, so Cal's going to be batting left-handed. And if it's a lefty on the mound, whether or not Cal sees a day off, maybe he's DHing, maybe further down the lineup since his left-handed side is his stronger side. I'm not really sure where they're looking at with lineups in terms of lefty-righty matchups there. But yeah, Colton Wong batting 2 I think does make a lot of sense for the Mariners lineup. Could be looking to set the table for Ty France and Teoscar to get some early on RBIs with Julio probably getting on, or maybe not and just hitting a leadoff home run, which he does so well. I don't know. I trust, Scott to roll out the right lineup. Whether or not we see JP Crawford there on opening day is kind of tough because, like you mentioned, the last spring training lineup had Mason McCoy at shortstop batting 9th.
Yeah, and I think that if we're talking about injuries for the Mariners, up the middle, they have some interesting ones. Whether or not JP can go, obviously he had what they're calling a bone bruise on his foot after fouling a ball off. I think it was in batting practice when he fouled it off his foot. And I don't think he should have any problems, but at the same time, he already had that shoulder injury earlier on in spring. Now he has this problem with his foot. I just don't know how healthy JP Crawford is. And last year he started off really, really strong.
Yes.
But if he's not healthy to start the year, who knows what we're going to get out of JP Crawford. Batting him in the 9 spot, I mean, that's just where he's going to hit. That's if he's even healthy. If he's not healthy and we have to see Mason McCoy start on opening day, that is not a good look for the Mariners. Of course, Dylan Moore also being out is a big hit, not having a right-handed platoon necessarily. You could put Sam Haggerty as a platoon for Colton Wong at second base. I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't love it. I know the YouTube comments do. Whoa, YouTube comments.
Sam
Whoa.
Swaggerty, baby.
Whoa, I hear you guys.
He's got a menu item now, bro.
Does he?
Yeah, the calzone and there's a ham Swaggerty sandwich, I'm pretty sure.
Wait, the calzone is actually happening?
Yeah, did you not see the
I
announcements
did
for all
not
the food?
see the announcements, no.
Oh, gosh.
I'm not fat, I'm skinny.
I'm fat, and I looked at all the food announcements.
Can I tell you a story really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So last year, towards the end of the season, they had the calzone.
Yeah.
And I just really wanted to try it. And it was at a game probably in September at some point. And it was at Ballard Pizza. And I'm like, I'm going to go get myself a calzone.
You got it.
I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't get the calzone because it was I thought it was something that they were just going to have from then on. I went to Ballard Pizza. I'm like, hey, like 2 games later, hey, can I get a calzone? They're like, nope, don't have it. It's like, what do you mean? There's only for that one. It was only for that one game. And they're like, yeah, it's only for that one game. I was like,
that's silly.
Okay.
Maybe it's just like a test item. Yeah, it's definitely back like
that's what
the whole year. I'm pretty sure is a game where JP was talking about aliens and they had the promotional vice president, I think, there on the broadcast talking about like what they're bringing, and the calzone was something that they really like. They needed to be like, this is happening. So
especially after the walk off,
of course, yeah, it's necessary.
You think that JP got abducted by the aliens?
You know, it's quite possible. You know, they heard him running his mouth. You know, they tapped into the telecoms there and just said, hey, we need to get this guy out before he keeps exposing our secrets.
I agree with that.
It's, you know, it's one of those risks that JP's willing to run as like an alien truther. And if he gets injured during the process, hey man, at least he gets to speak his truth.
That's a very good point. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So speaking of people getting abducted and injured for that matter, obviously we talked a little bit about the Mariners injuries, but around the league in baseball, there are quite a few significant injuries that can affect the way that our standings are going to turn out for Major League Baseball as a whole, whether that be for the Mariners themselves or around the league. Joe, what injuries are you concerned about, and it maybe change the way our outlook on the rest of the MLB goes?
As far as like concern, this first one, like, really affects the Mariners very heavily, and that's Jose Altuve being out for the first, was it like 2 months roughly, maybe
at least, yeah.
2.5 months with a broken thumb. Sure. Really devastating injury for the Astros, truly. I mean, they are a team that had a lot more depth at the end of last year, and they lost a lot of people in free agency. Obviously, they brought in a big guy like Jose Abreu that brought back Michael Brantley, but looking at their depth up the middle, it's not as unnecessarily strong as it would be in other spots for this team. So especially a guy like Altuve, who has been a perennial performer for them year in and year out, it's definitely going to hurt them early on. They'll be fine. They're the Astros, unfortunately, but that's definitely an injury to like, this could shake up things to start the year, to say the least. Another one is Rhys Hoskins for the Phillies. Brutal injury, just non-contact, just ACL gone. I think they've got a potential replacement on like the way for them. It's not like no rumors or anything confirmed here, but Luke Voigt did not make I think it was the Brewers. He didn't make the Brewers roster. And so I think that could be a good replacement for them short term.
Interesting. This just came to me now. What if they put Bryce Harper at first base? What if they're like, they don't want to have his UCL get all messed up. Maybe they put him at first base just for a little while to get him in the lineup. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know about that. They could try it. I mean, I'd probably rather try and get Castellanos over there first to get him out of the outfield. But
Castellanos has played the outfield before. The only problem is if you're trying to, maybe you can bring Bryce back earlier.
Maybe
if he doesn't have to throw
potentially
from the outfield.
That's a thought. That definitely is a thought.
So in the AL East, obviously Edwin Diaz suffered his injury. He is out for the season. So the Phillies and the Mets both had pretty substantial injuries. Does that affect how you feel about the NL East at all?
I'm glad you fixed it on the NL East on the second one.
Yeah.
You did really good there. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point though, with like Edwin Diaz out, I mean, Brandon Nimmo was like a big scare as well, sliding into second, whether or not he was going to be healthy. I think definitely that kind of shakes up the standings. I think the Braves would now be the front runner there. As far as the Phillies go, I think I had them finishing third. So I think that stays the same. Rhys Hoskins, yes, he's a great player. I don't know if it necessarily affects him as much as Edwin Diaz would affect them, like the Mets if they lost him. Obviously, they have for the full season. Obviously, that bullpen is now way less lethal. There's going to be a glaring hole at the back end of those games. I definitely would say I had the Mets as I think 102 and 60 or 101 and 61 or something like that. More so around like 95, 96 wins, I would say. So it's good. It's definitely going to be wild card one realistically, but I'd say the Braves have shot past them now.
Interesting. So you think that Diaz wins them an extra 4 games?
Potentially.
Interesting. Okay. An extra 4, between 4 and 6 games.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go as far to say a reliever is that valuable. I mean, relievers are so volatile.
It's true.
I think I still have the Mets winning that division, but I think it'll be a lot closer than I originally thought. Or I originally had the Mets at 103 and 59. I had the Braves at 99 and 63. So maybe both of them duke it out, just kind of like how they did in 2022.
Sure.
And towards like the very end of the season. I think another big one has been the Yankees. I had the Yankees winning that division in the AL East relatively easily, but with all their injuries to their pitching staff, I think I have to give it to the Blue Jays now. I had the Blue Jays in second place in that division, but I think the Blue Jays at this point are probably taking that division with ease.
Pretty clear, yeah. I mean, they've had Kikuchi come out great during spring training. I think I know it's crazy, right? Words, the most shocking words that have ever exited my mouth, and I've said some wild things. Yeah, and so I think Schneider announced that he had made the rotation. I think that was either yesterday or the day before. They've obviously got guys like Gossman, Manoah. They signed Chris Bassett, so they've got a rotation that's definitely going to be a lot more serviceable than the Yankees, who have a lot of injuries surrounding it. Losing Rodon, losing Cortez, losing, what was it, Severino yesterday? And so Clark Schmidt is now slated to start game 2 after Garrett Cole. That's not what they had in mind coming out of last season and throughout the rest of this offseason, most definitely. I understand why you would switch the Blue Jays and the Yankees there. I probably would do it myself as well, but it's going to be like by a game or two. It's not going to be some big dramatic change, I would say. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. Blue Jays definitely in the front, like in the lead for the AL East now.
And I think with the season starting tomorrow, you guys can still get seats to opening day as well as other games for the Seattle Mariners over on SeatGeek. If you use Mariner Mojo, you'll get $20 off on those tickets. So make sure you do that over at SeatGeek.com. And thank you, SeatGeek, for supporting us in this video.
Now that our updated predictions are out of the way for the MLB season, we did see this comment come through on a video earlier in the week, and we wanted to use this as our cafe question of the day for our first ever Hit It Here podcast. Now on this one, going into the next week episode, because these are going to go up every single Wednesday, we want you to comment a question down below you guys want us to answer in the following episode. If we pick you, congratulations, you made it on the Hit It Here podcast. Now going back to the 4-game set against the Guardians, we touched on game 1. Colton, what is it looking like for the rest of the series as far as pitching matchups go?
Well, as of right now, it has been announced that the second game of the season is going to be Tristan McKenzie versus Robbie Ray. With that being said, in his final game of spring training, Tristan McKenzie did leave after the first inning with right arm tightness. They did say this was all precautionary. By the time you guys are seeing this, you might know, hey, he is starting or he's not. But yeah, Tristan McKenzie is who is allegedly going to be starting the second game of the season. Honestly, McKenzie's pretty good. What are your thoughts on Tristan McKenzie?
Allegedly. McKenzie's great. He's very dominant when he is on his game. It's one of those ones where he can be kind of streaky, but when he gets going, it's hard to stop him. I like McKenzie's game quite a bit there. That's a great 1-2 punch that the Guardians have between Bieber and McKenzie. I will say Castillo and Ray's looked fantastic during spring training. Just absolutely filthy. Looking like he's going to strike out 300 batters this year. I'm kidding.
Yeah, he wins his Cy Young this year again.
Just, he just needs to take an off year to get himself back into shape. But yeah, I think McKenzie's great. They've got a pretty deep rotation over there as well. Game 3 is slated to be Aaron Savali versus Logan Gilbert. How do you feel about Gilbert heading out of spring training in his final start today that we're recording this? But
I'm pretty excited about Logan. I think he really can take the next step this year. What that next step could be, I'm not sure. Overall, for the Mariners in their rotation over the next few years, I think Gilbert probably, just because of how good the rotation is, slots in as their 4. But I think that once George Kirby kind of, pops a little bit more, gets a little bit more time under his belt, he'll go a little bit further up in the rotation, maybe a 2 or a 3. But Gilbert against the Guardians, I don't have his numbers in front of me against the Guardians. I'm just going to assume that they were good because it is Logan Gilbert. I'm excited to see that splitter a little bit more that he has been working on. I think it could play really well. I'm excited to see him strike out Jose Ramirez. I really like Jose Ramirez. I just want to see Logan Gilbert strike him out.
Why is that? Seems there seems there's a little bit of malicious intent involved there.
I think Jose Ramirez is really, really good, and I'm really upset that he hasn't won an MVP. And if Logan Gilbert can just, set him down 0 for 3 with 3 Ks, I'll feel pretty good about Logan Gilbert's season.
Okay. You mentioned George Kirby shooting up that rotation list. Not this year. Game 4 against the Guardians, it is Marco Gonzalez slated against Cal Quantrill. Now, you mentioned George Kirby. It's one of those ones where it is still likely an innings limit kind of a vibe there, where you don't want him pitching 32 starts. He's going to go maybe 6 innings max for the most part. Maybe see him going to the 7th if his pitch count is low. How you feel about Marco getting the Game 4 nod instead of George Kirby there?
Well, I don't love it.
I'm shocked.
Who knows if again, at some point around the beginning of the season, probably the first month, Marco is going to go on to paternity leave. Mm-hmm. So not 100% sure. Like, it's no guarantee that he makes his start. Of course, maybe Monica goes into labor early. Who knows? But
yeah, you on a first name basis there, huh?
Monica? Hey man, I've met Monica. Nice. I've met him.
There you go.
Monica's cool. But I think, obviously, no guarantee Marco makes that start. Of course, Chris Flexen could slot in right there if he's still around. Yeah. And overall, I don't love Marco against the Guardians. But then again, I don't really love Marco against any team, except for maybe the Athletics.
After the first inning?
Yeah. So, but the first 3 games of the series should be pretty fun. And I'll be at all 3.
Now, I've got Logan Gilbert's stats against the Guardians pulled up. This is his career stats, by the way. So he's made 3 starts. He's 1-1. He has a 3.71 ERA, so not bad. Could be better. Definitely could be better. Maybe one of those, starts inflated him from his rookie season where he wasn't as good in his sophomore year. But over 17 innings, he's given up 17 hits, 7 earned. He's given up 2 home runs, walked 1 batter, and struck out 13. I think you could see a nice 6-7 innings out of Gilbert against the Guardians there, striking out a couple batters, maybe showcasing off his new splitter, maybe getting some swing and misses there down low in the zone. So I've got a lot of faith for the Mariners rotation against the Guardians early on this year.
Hey Joe.
Yeah.
See this jacket?
What is that? Wait.
This is a jacket from Simply Seattle, who we are partners with. Make sure to go on to Simply Seattle and use code MOJO10 at checkout for 10% off your order and help support us and them. So overall, Joe, for the first series of 2023, how do you feel about the Mariners? What's their record going to be after this first series with the Guardians?
I'm feeling a light 3-1, but maybe a more moderate 2-2. You might see the Mariners hitters struggle a little bit out the gate against Bieber. Maybe he comes in, shuts him down. Maybe McKenzie in that same way, especially if we've got some guys banged up, like we're rolling out Mason McCoy at shortstop if JP's not available. So I could see a split, or if everything goes right. I mean, if everything goes right, it's a 4-0 sweep. But 2-2 or 3-1 is kind of where I'm sitting.
I'd have to agree with that. I think, the Marco start is a toss-up. I think the other 3, the Mariners are pretty close to having the upper hand. I think the only spot in this series in the rotation that the Guardians have the upper hand is probably opening day with Bieber versus Castillo. Otherwise, I think it's the Mariners have the upper hand for the most part up until the Marco start. So who knows? So 2-2, I think is it's fair. It's a conservative idea for this start of the season, part of the season.
Start of the season.
I think 3-1. Final answer. 3-1.
Look at you, so bold and brash.
They're gonna win all 3 games that I went to.
Just because you're there.
Because I'm there.
And thank you guys for being here, watching the first episode of the Hit It Here podcast. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday at 12 for the continuation of this podcast. Appreciate you guys watching this one. Check out this video on the screen right now if you want to check out some more Mariner Mojo content. What else?
Bye.
And go Mariners.